Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of Tenkar's Tavern blog. I don't normally cover Kickstarters on this side of things, but this time I felt there was a reason to. And it was because I was excited about this Kickstarter because I happen to be a history buff. I was a history major in college, and it was World War II and American history, Civil War, Revolutionary War. So I saw Nations and Cannons, the American Crisis, for D&D 5e, and it took me. I'm like, the American Crisis, and I had to remember what the hell are we talking about when it comes to the American Crisis? Why not the American Revolution? And I actually had to think back to when I was in college. Oh my God, uh, 3.5 decades ago. And remember Thomas Paine, series of articles, The American Crisis. Okay, so now I see. So now they're going deep, right? They're going for the person that's into history. I can appreciate that. Okay, excellent. Experience the American Revolution firsthand with his D&D 5e historical tabletop RPG sourcebook and campaign guide. It's already raised $56,000 of a $25,000 goal. It wasn't a lowballed goal. God bless him. 514 backers, 2.5 weeks to go. I will include a link to this. I'm not going to be backing it. And there's a reason why I'm not going to be backing it, because I don't know, honestly, what they're. You'll see. You'll see why I'm confused. All right. So, Nations and Cannons is a complete historical campaign setting for D&D 5e. New base class, 6 new subclass options to the core classes, new roles. They're going to include heritages such as Quebecois, Quebec, colonial. I have no clue how to pronounce that stuff. I'm sure I'm butchering it. They talk about how there were a lot of languages spoken. The colonial era, colonial states. Certainly, little known tidbit of fact is that the reason why we don't have an official language in the U.S., like many nations do, is because the Continental Congress, did not want English to be the official language. We were breaking away from England. And the second most spoken language at the time was German. So the solution was to have no official language. So you're going to get your black powder weapons. Cool, if you want to put that into your 5e stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to get excited about as somebody who's, again, passionate about history. And then they say recommended for fans of Liberty's Kids. Sorry. I had no idea what that was. I had to look it up. It was a cartoon series that ended in 2003. So if you're a fan of something that's 2 decades old, they got you covered. Assassin's Creed. Somebody explained I remember Assassin's Creed as you're an assassin in like Persia or something like that and killing shit. I don't understand how a game on the American Revolution, a game setting based on the American Revolution, is going to be recommended for a fan of Assassin's Creed. Warhammer. I know exactly what Warhammer is. Okay? I'm assuming they're saying Warhammer Fantasy, not necessarily Warhammer 40K, but yeah, Warhammer Fantasy was quasi historically based, the setting on medieval or Renaissance Europe. So they're saying that they don't really seem to be talking about magic. It seems to be historical, although there's options, you will see, to put fantasy elements into this, which is fine. I think that was already done in Colonial Gothic. But I don't see how Warhammer and the American Revolution intersect. So again, they started losing me there. Fans of Hamilton. Now that I can appreciate. Hamilton Great Broadway play. I have not seen it because I don't do Broadway plays. I weigh 240 pounds. I'm 5'9". You'll get me into one of those Broadway seats. I will not get out of the seat because I'll be wedged in there. But I've heard only good things about Hamilton. So, all right. But let's move on. Our well-researched rules include new mechanics that let you experience the American Revolution firsthand through the lens of D&D. And by the way, this is not a standalone game. You need the D&D rules. If you don't have the D&D 5e rules, you can use the free basic rules that you can download. You could, I guess, theoretically use a starter set. If you watch the video, it covers levels 1 through 5. Okay. While most history books linger only on the best-known historical figures and their exploits, you can tell real stories of humanity and heroism with a cast of unconventional heroes, such as Seymour Burr, Polly Cooper, David Bushnell. I remember when I was doing papers on the American Revolution, and this is back in the 80s, late 80s, you didn't have the internet. You had to go and you had to do your research, and to find stuff that was a bit beyond what was being regurgitated everywhere else, you had to really sit in that library and look. So God bless. That sounds cool. That's what you want to do. You want to experience stuff that's behind the scenes stuff. Now, beloved by dads, moms, and parents of all genders, Nations and Cannons is perfect for curious students and history nerds alike. I got some major problems with this sentence. And first off, the game isn't released yet. So how is it beloved by anybody, right? I know you can get the quick start rules. The game isn't released. It's not beloved by anybody. That's my first problem with that sentence. You're selling shit based on a statement that is by definition false, or it can't be proved. There's not even a situation where it can be accurate at this point. Dads, moms, and parents of all genders. All you gotta say is beloved by parents. Parents encompasses moms and dads. Encompasses all genders. It's gender neutral. You don't need to throw that in. Listen, I'm a product of New York City public school education. So in the 70s, I had a classmate who was a girl. She had 2 mothers. I asked my mother, how does she have 2 mothers? How does that work? And my mother just said, she has two mommies. She goes, that's just how it worked. I didn't ask anymore. That was fine. So I don't have an issue with it, but it's pointless. It's signaling for the sake of signaling, and I hate signaling for the sake of signaling. Beloved by all parents, which would still be false because, again, the game isn't released. It's perfect for curious students and history nerds alike. Who are you selling this at? You should be selling it for history nerds. If you're selling it for history nerds, wouldn't you be saying, this is great for fans of The Patriot? Or any of the other series of the John Adams miniseries, Washington Spies, which was fairly recent. I think PBS has a series, Liberty or something like that, and then Sons of Liberty. So there are things that you could pitch this at and say, hey, this is if you're a fan of this. Students, curious students, and history nerds alike, and parents. Who thought up your marketing? You should be like, why are you selling this to fans of Assassin's Creed and Warhammer? Again, that's what made me go from a fan of history, American history, and I'm looking at this going, I'm afraid now. And I'm not afraid of content. I'm afraid of, I'm going to spend good money on this. How much is this in print? $60. I would spend $60 plus shipping and get what? Now, maybe I will wait for this thing to release and see what the reviews are. Maybe the marketing for it is just sloppy and I don't know, confused, and maybe the product itself is going to be excellent. I can only hope. As it stands right now, I don't know. Our content is full of rich detail of the daily lives and wartime struggles of the 18th century and highlights the contributions of those that are not often mentioned in today's history books. Women, people of color, Indigenous Americans were integral parts of the American Revolution. And that's certainly true. And if you had to do your own research, like I had to do back in college, you would find articles on that, or you'd find that in your research material. And I'm glad people are bringing that forward. It's often overlooked. But who are you pitching this to? Parents? Beloved by parents. What parents who I'm not buying this for my kid? Again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It replaces spells with gambits, extraordinary acts of ingenuity, guile, or gumption. They function identically to spellcasting, so they are compatible with games that use traditional magic rules for 5e. While there aren't any wizards, rangers, and firebrands, are casters that use gambits to create dynamic moments in combat while exploring or in a social encounter. I'm curious, but not curious enough to want to put down $60 to find out. The new mechanics are fully balanced for your fantasy campaign. If you prefer your history with a dramatic flair, you can combine our black powder rules with supernatural elements from other D&D sources to create a flintlock fantasy story. Imagine a world where musketeers fight arm in arm with mages, or one in which Benjamin Franklin uses his most eccentric inventions to hunt banshees and other spectral threats. Well, now that could certainly be interesting, but I think that would need its own coverage. But then actually, you know what? That's all you get. Because from that, you're going into the pledge tiers. So you get a few paragraphs. You got a video, which actually, the video promises some pretty cool maps. I'm almost tempted to get it for the maps, but I can't justify it. So, I mean, and that's the issue too. Who are you selling this at? Are you selling this for those that are fans of American history or historical fiction in general? Because then I think that that's what you should be selling it to. That might be your audience, but are you actually selling it at that audience? And if you're not selling it at that audience, then why aren't you? And what are you actually going to be giving? It seems like there's a lot of uh, confusion on the creator side as to what this final product is aiming to do. Now, it might be really good, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of research put into this. And I'd like to believe that if I bought this, knowing I'd never play it, because honestly, this is a niche of a niche of a niche section of what you're going to try to sell to somebody to say, hey, let's do a campaign in, but it's just for the historical tidbits that you might not know or might have forgotten. In my case, stuff that I probably haven't seen in 3.5 decades. It would be interesting to see a lot of that stuff. I just don't think it's worth the investment. And again, why are you selling this toward Assassin's Creed or a cartoon series that's 2 decades old when people think the revolution, right, in mass media, they're thinking Mel Gibson's The Patriot. I never knew of this cartoon series. So again, I don't understand why Warhammer. Why Warhammer? Why parents? You know, it's not like I'm going to buy this for my kid and they can use this as research material for their term paper, because how much of this has been fictionalized to turn it into an RPG? Again, it's confusing to me. I'm sure it's confusing to others. Like I said, I'll include a link. Do your look at the page yourself, watch the video, draw your own conclusions. It has the potential to be something really cool. I just don't know if it has the focus to be something as cool as it could be. All right, folks. On that note, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I will be back again tomorrow with some random shite. I'll catch you later.